We will start. I would like to acknowledge the ancestral, cultural, traditional, and unceded territory of the Shoshone, Bannock, and Northern Paiute people on which we are meeting today. And first thing we will do is approve the minutes from December. So do we have a motion? I move to approve. All right, Commissioner Ashley has motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second? Commissioner Walker has seconded. So we have a motion to pass the June meeting minutes. All those in favor? In December? All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes for December's meeting minutes. And then we will go right on into the director's. It sounds like
some things. Yeah, well, thank you, commissioners, for being here. It's really good to see a great space. Really appreciate you being here. Sorry it's been so long since we've seen each other. So things are plugging along, things are going well. Some of you heard a few minutes ago, and I'll say it on here too, that we are in the midst of moving. Our area of the building is being remodeled. So we'll be officing sort of in various places, but certainly we can always reach us by email or phone number or phone call. So I'll start with an update on human resources. As all of you know, we've had a vacancy for our city historian since August, and we're very pleased to announce that we have hired Ashley O'Hara. She's coming to us from kind of a break between her bachelor's degree and her master's degree, where she did a whole lot of history programming work and is just now finishing up her master's down in Arizona. So she'll be joining us as soon as she defends her thesis and comes to us. But even though she's straight out of school, she has a lot of previous experience. So we're really excited about that. Christina Wilkins was just extended an offer to fill the position that was vacated by Evelyn Shivers a few months ago. She's coming to us straight from the Boise Art Museum, and she begins April 8th. And then we are just at the tail end of recruiting for the Cultural Assets Program Manager. That position closes tomorrow. So that was Jamil Shirley, who retired last month. And we have gotten some good candidates, and we're looking forward to starting this next week or two. Excitingly, we will be kicking off our next series of city steps coming up here next month. And as part of that, we have hired 2 part-time tour guides that will be with us over the summer. So they'll actually be paid employees. And they will be part-time people who will cover both sessions, which I'll get to in a minute. And then finally, the mayor's office has sponsored another intern for us this summer, and the intern will be hiring. We also have all completed, collecting resumes for that, and the communications team will be actually managing that internship this summer. So they will not, whoever we end up hiring will not necessarily be out public facing in terms of giving programming, that sort of thing. We'll really be working on this time around. So it's going to be an exciting summer. Hi, Rachel. Thank you for joining us. I just saw that you're there.
Yep. Sorry, just the links, but I'm here now. So
no problem. So as I said a few minutes ago, we are moving out of our offices. Go down right now, you can see that we're pretty much emptied out. Our last day in the offices will be Friday, and then we will return to the office on June 10th. So it's exciting. It's going to be, an update to the way the office looks so that it is more in line with the rest of the building. So we're looking forward to that, even if it is a little disruptive in the time, but we're very happy that we'll be back in the offices before our really super busy summer season starts in June. Everybody paying attention? April 13th through April 16th is going to be a big celebration. So if you have been living under a rock, allow me. I'm kidding, you don't live and breathe it the way we do, but our department has been working very closely with the Parks Department to put on an incredible series of events between April 13th, April 16th. So there's a few things that our department specifically has worked really hard on and we're really proud of as part of that partnership. So we have a brand new permanent exhibition going up in the depot that covers 100 years of depot history. But it is what we're hoping will be an evergreen exhibit. So it's not just for the centennial, but it's something that can actually stay up permanently. It is a double-sided set of panels, and on one side is in English and the other side is in Spanish. So we're very glad that we were able to get those materials translated thanks to our partners of our community engagement. And we're hoping that that, of course, permits more people to engage with the history of the depot and the significance of the train and the depot itself in our community's history. We've been working with history research associates, historical research associates for that because we've been a historian. So we did hire a contractor to help us with that. And then of course, Caitlin Hoffman, our program assistant, has been immensely helpful there as well. In addition to that, if you've been to when was the last time any of you have been inside the depot?
Within the last year, actually.
Oh, okay. So you may remember that there's the Barcelo newsstand, which is where people, bought their cigars or their newspapers or what have cars before they got on the train. And that has some glass cabinets underneath it, and those have been sort of filled with a hodgepodge of things, but without any real interpretation. And so Parks was kind enough to allow our experts to come in and rearrange those exhibits and actually put some interpretation there. So you'll actually see that change as well when you're there. Another thing we're really proud of is that, as you probably know, if you follow social media, the depot gives tours regularly during open hours. But depending on who you get, you're going to get maybe a little bit of a different story, and it hasn't been very consistent over time. And so they asked our team to come in and provide a more professional interpretation script, if you will, on the tour. And so again, that has been translated into Spanish. So we'll be giving tours that provide a more full and thorough history of the depot and the train, and also translated to Spanish. So we're really excited about that. And those will be given during those 4 days, and then that will be what is given after that time as well. So we're happy about that. And then finally, the public art team and our department has been working with 2 local artists. Remind me their names.
Annika, Kalak, and Wilmer.
Thank you. And they have, we're doing our very first projection card installation that we've ever done. So it will be projected onto the front of the depot each night, starting on the 13th. That'll be the kickoff night at dusk, which is going to be around 8:30. And it will be displayed until 10:30 each night of the 4-day celebration. Sunday is family day. And so, it's really, they call it family day to encourage people to bring their kids because there will be kid activities, but all of these things will be happening on that day. And then on the last night, the 16th, there will also be a really big celebration there, encouraging people who wear 20s garb, because of course we're celebrating something that happened in 1925. So if you feel so inclined, dress up and it's not a gala or anything like that. It's a community event, but we in costume have a great night celebrating. So any questions about that?
Where did I find is the schedule specifically for the kids stuff on the 13th, like outlined on there? Okay, perfect.
Just say-
Go ahead.
I will just say I possibly have 3 AM bottom 1920s. Now I'm very happy I get to use it.
You gotta dress them, take one copy and put them
In Adidas.
in little. I was gonna say one.
Everything's free.
Everything's free. Love that. Yep.
Was this the same artist? They had an open streets,
Yep.
Boise.
So we did community input at Open Streets Boise. And they used historical information record around the depot along with community input to inform the projection art. And each night has different.
It looks really cool. It's gonna be about the future of transportation. What would Boise look like if the depot was again sort of the hub of futuristic transportation? So it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be really interesting, I think. like, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, really fun. Okay, so just a quick update on all the work that we're doing with the Capital City Development Corporation. So, the Grove Street interpretive signage, just to refresh your memory, if you aren't familiar with this, we're calling it the Grove Street Story Walk, and this is a series of 14 signs that will extend from 3rd Street, 3rd and Grove, all the way to 16th and Grove. And with all the work that CCDC has been doing to rebuild these blocks and to redevelop them, and of course, the park that's going in Kaisha Corner, at 5th and Grove, near the Basque Center, there's just a lot of interest in this space, and of course, an incredible opportunity to provide an interpretive history so that people can understand what Grove Street has been to the city of Boise over time. So those will be installed by May 31st. We're very excited to get that done. Part of the interpretive signage walk is also going to include Neon Grove. So there will be, for each of the neon signs that is between 13th and 14th, there are between 13th and 14th right now, there'll be a little interpretive sign saying what each of those signs' history is. And of course, there'll be an interpretive sign about the history of the show. So we hope that those are really engaging, and we're hoping to include an actual guided tour as part of our city steps as we move into 2026 as well, of some of the Grove Street stuff. The deferred maintenance that CCDC agreed to fund in the various districts, the urban renewal districts that are sunsetting over the next 2 years, that work is going well, and that will also be completed by May 31st. We have our public art maintenance collections folks, one folk here, Elagio here today. One of those things was the reinstallation of Bike Trio, which just took place last week. And Jennifer and I had the opportunity to drive by it today. It's actually been reinstalled in a new angle, and it looks phenomenal. So it was installed before Tree Fort, and we have pictures of people riding it and back on that. So we're really pleased with that. That's been a long time coming, so we're happy to know that that's finished up. 521 West Grove Street, public space, that is in fact Kaisha Corner. And we are in the throes of fabrication with the artists and scheduling all the things. You would be amazed at how much effort and coordination there is when you think about basically an entire park that is built around art. So very exciting, and of course that has to be done by July 25th, and will be, because that is when Hyol will be starting, which is the Basque celebration that hasn't been here for 10 years because of COVID. So it's going to be a big celebration, and getting that art installed by then is very exciting, and we're on track. And the artists with us here last week visiting, things are going on. So got a lot of super exciting things coming up. The second art court, some of you may remember, I'm sure Commissioner Ashley does, since it's in her school, is going to be programmed by May 16th. So this is a opportunity that our public art coordinator is doing with the of the arts at Boise State, and with the sculpture class there that is taught by Lily Lee. And the selection panel recently made the selection of the students' art that's going to go in there. So super exciting, because the second one, you may remember
Reclaimed.
thank you, Reclaimed Majesty, was installed last year by one student, and I don't know.
Are they both maybe up, or is this one replaced?
No, this will, they'll both be up, so it's a room. Yeah, it's a swap out. Pretty cool. Yeah, so Reclaimed Majesty will be up for one more year, and then it will be replaced next year.
Okay. And then what are we gonna do with it?
Maybe back to the arts.
Yeah.
I just want to say, because not as a commissioner, but as like the director of School of the Arts, like how meaningful that work has been to the students and faculty. I know it was a lot. I know it was a big lift on your team's part to do this, but the way that it has helped them think about careers and artist workforce development, this will be something that they never forget, and it has been a huge milestone for them. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for that, for making that possible.
Thank you for that validation. I agree. I think it's been one of the most impactful things that we've started, and hope that we can continue as long as Boise State and the professor and our team is on board. So far so good. And then of course we've got the next iteration of Traffic Box art rafts coming up this summer, so that's the last thing on the CCDC list. I'm sure there will be more to come, but as those districts sunset between now and September of 2026, that's that. City Steps I referenced earlier, we have 2 series this year. The first is going to be from early May to late June, and that will have the same tour content as last year. In the fall, we've got a couple new things happening. So the first is that we're going to be adding the Chinatown tour that our intern last summer, Nathan, together. And that will be getting reworked over the summer when our new historian comes in, Ashley. But that will be rolled out during that fall session. And then we'll also be doing a new tour this summer that we're putting together over the summer to roll out in the fall about Grove Street's public art. So we'll have Reclaim Majesty and Kaisho Corner and all the new art that we've been installing on Grove Street, and we'll do a tour of that as well.
Do you know when that construction on that block will ever be completed? I mean, not just CCDC related, but I think there's so much growth along Grove Street that like, will there ever be a big reveal of corner to corner on Grove Street? And this is it, we're done, guys. Or is it just gonna be like some blocks are off? Because we all know that walking around downtown right now is horrible.
Yeah.
And I just think it's probably gonna be that way for a long time, where you can't really just walk the whole length and take it all in one go.
Yeah, so I can tell you that with the sunsetting of the district comes the end of the incentives for the kind of building you're talking about. So I'm certainly can't represent CCDC by any stretch or the developers, but my guess is that as that district sunsets, we will see
Okay.
the decline of the difficulties.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be great to walk anywhere unencumbered.
I want to say one other thing about the second series of City Steps, and again, I'm glad Elagio's in the room because this was his brainchild. You guys remember, those of you who are old enough, the old viewfinders that you do this with? So especially because of Chinatown being not present anymore in terms of any visual references, or at least not very many of them. We're going to be buying a set of viewfinders and putting together a slide deck basically for each tour that we're doing, so that there's sort of an interactive piece of the tour. And so mayor's office had one. I had seen it 100 times being up at the mayor's office. Elagio saw it once, and he came down and said, we need to do these tours. And so we've looked into the cost of that, and that fits into our budget. So we're going to be rolling those out in the fall as well. So yeah, I think that'll be a fun. It'll be sort of a cool way to demonstrate it's not bulky and sort of has that nostalgia to it. So we're excited about that. One major change this year is that we are going to be charging for our tours. This is a change, as you all know. We've been aiming to start generating some revenue to offset some of our costs, and so we're testing it this year. This is a pilot year. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be a nominal fee, and we'll certainly report back to the commission what's going on with that. I just wanted to briefly say that we have not let go of the Arts Industry Ambassador team. It's a bit on hold right now as we figure out the needs that we have for the America 250, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But the goal with this is that we would have ambassadors at basically to expand what we are asking all of you to do. So we have more bodies to do some of the work that we've asked you to do. So serving on selection panels, going to events, serving possibly as tour docents, and then possibly doing some outreach for cultural sites as well. So continue to stay tuned. I wanted to let you all know that a date has been selected for the Mayor's Awards in Excellence in Arts and History.
I put it on my calendar the second I saw it.
I'm so glad. We certainly hope that you will all be there. It'll be Thursday, September 18th at Jump. And of course, the mayor will be there. She will be handing out the awards, and the call for applications for cultural ambassador actually went out yesterday. So that's the other thing that happens at those awards. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, is that the next 2-year cultural ambassador is announced. So we will have tickets as well as sponsoring opportunities, meaning table purchases, available early in the summer. And certainly, again, hope that you all not just come yourselves, but bring the people that you know that are in love with the work that we do and can be good supporters of us, friends from work, friends from school, what have you. So we hope that we'll see you all there. American,
Can commissioners nominate?
absolutely. Of course, thank you for saying that. Commissioners can and should provide nominations for the various categories, and those will be, I'm sorry that they're not up on the screen, but we can certainly send those out to you then if you need a refresher. They're the same as last time around. No changes. Okay, so you can see this is a really short slide, especially compared to the memo I sent you. So let me just briefly tell you where we are with the America 250. As you, let me actually say a couple of things about this. So unfortunately, you may have heard that the state had some grants that it gave out last year that were awarded in December. And unfortunately, those have all been canceled. So the city had already, of course, been 100% behind planning a celebration and a commemoration of this occasion. But I think that it's even more critical that we are present public facing now more than ever. So we plan to, with the guidance of mayor, we have decided that our main celebration period is going to be January 1st to July next year. There's a couple caveats to that. We have a couple things that are actually already on the books that our department is doing this fall. So for example, we currently have a call out for the Boise Visual Chronicle, which is going to be a jury competition for some additions to our public art collection. And that is going to be a gallery exhibition that's on display in the Heyman House in the fall, this fall. And the call for art is actually centered around some of the questions of the America 250 and some of the conflicts and values that America has experienced over its 200-year history. So that was already on. So it's not that it's hard, these aren't hard dates, the January 1 to the July 4th, but that's going to be the main part of the celebration. There will be planned programs. We will be reaching out. Some of you I've already had conversations with. And we are hoping, and I'm pretty sure it's going to happen, Boiseville is going to be playing for the fireworks show on July 4th. So that's sort of a big thing. We're working on the contract right now. And essentially what, just so you have a big picture and some context of this, what we're going to be doing is actually, and this has been part of the delay in giving you a lot of specifics, is that we are going to be fundraising for the money to put on these events. So I don't have much to say about that specifically right now, only to say that that is the mayor's office plans, and we are 100% on board and working with the mayor's office on that plan. She actually has a new director of philanthropy, community development, that sort of thing, and we'll be working with them and already are working with them on some of those fundraising things that we're doing so that we can execute on the programs that we have.
If the Boise Phil, does that include like the junior Boise Philharmonic?
Not for that, not for like playing for it. It's going to be essentially, if you've ever watched or heard of the Boston Pops concert that they have, it will be the professional musicians on the day of the show, but we are actually hoping to have the Boise Youth Philharmonic do other celebrations throughout the spring. So yeah, stay tuned on that. That's on our radar for sure. Do you play?
No.
Oh, my son was. It's an awesome organization.
If it's appropriate,
Of course.
I would love to volunteer to review that visual chronicle that you're looking for.
I'm actually on.
Did they already pick this one again?
Did I?
Yeah, we're in it. We picked the theme. And now we're waiting for the submissions.
All right, if you do need anybody as a backup.
Okay, no, that's good. I'm excited to see what.
Yeah. There are some other opportunities for selection panels coming up. So the first of those is going to be for our annual grant program, and that call is coming out in May. And of course, that's one of our biggest time commitments that we have there. We do need people to review those applications. And I want to say, related to the grant program and also related to the previous slide regarding the America 250, We are currently applying for a National Network of the Arts grant to do rebranding for the America 250. It's a lot of words. What that essentially means is we're acting as a pass-through to get that money. So the idea is just to get it from the NEA and pass it to local community organizations. Because that grant requires a 100% match, we are applying for $30,000 from the organization, and we have taken $30,000 out of our annual grant pool to match that. So if we do not get the NEA grant, we will proceed with the $30,000 that we've taken off of our usual budget for this. If we do get the NEA grant, that grant pool will be $60,000. So you will see when the call goes out that the amount that we have to give this year is $120,000 instead of the usual $150,000, and that's the reason. So we want to make sure that we're reserving some money so that we can give those dollars to the community to do programs that specifically commemorate parts of the
Along that line, funds raised for America 250, are they gonna come into the city or the Arts Industry Foundation? What about for organizations who can only donate to non-taxing?
That's a really good question. And I don't even know that we have an answer to that yet. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will be sure to get an answer for you and let you know.
Okay. Yeah, we're sponsoring, Idaho Power is sponsoring the 250th anniversary of the Marines, which comes this year. So I have questions about that. But it's through, you can't donate to the Marines, really. So
Yeah.
they have local organizations identified to run their programming that are our 501(c)(3), and that's where the donations go. And anything left over then gets donated to local organizations that support Marine programming locally, like Marine support, veteran
Right.
support sort of stuff. So the interesting pass-through mechanism that they set up.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
Will the 250 program be a grant program or will it be a contract program? Will it be, are you going to be granting the $30,000 or $60,000? There'll be like an application process.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So there'll be a selection panel. We're running it essentially exactly like we run the annual grant program. But it will be specifically for programming related to the 5 Ps.
So it'll be a different panel
Correct.
that will do the selection.
And that will be happening next January.
Okay.
And then we also need volunteers for the writer in residence panel, which is coming up. So this is going to mark the 3rd year that we have run this program with the Boise Public Library and with the cabin, and would love to have members of our commission, of course, serve on that. So those are coming there. So needs from the commissioner. These are some of the things I already mentioned. Join a selection panel, spread the words about Mayor's Awards nominations coming up and the kind of cultural ambassador applications being open. We do have a new cultural program guide. Oh, I see that. Oh, everyone has. Except me. That's great. I have one of my lists downstairs. That thing has really come a long way. So excited that our team and stuff together. So take a stack, put them in your workplaces, what have you, and get out to our events. And then just be, ask always that you're aware of the things that we're doing.
There's still a list on your website about the former cultural ambassadors, right? Like who's done it historically.
Yeah, and they were.
Too. Okay, good.
I just have up on the screen the upcoming events that we have. And of course, we welcome you and love to have you at all of them. What you're going to start seeing is some consistent meeting, which we're really excited about. I've been working hard to get to. So some of the items you see up here, for example, I'll draw your attention to May 3rd, something happening at the James Castle House that's going to be a new series that we have here every year called Be a Maker. And it's aimed at some youth audience, and some of the events are aimed at youth. And the idea is to basically hire a local artist and have them run workshops for people who want to learn some of the techniques maybe that James Castle used and that sort of thing. So there's a connection there, but it also allows people to do art. So that's exciting. Evenings at Irma's is also another new series that's gonna be coming. And I'll let, I'll say more about that next time, just because, it's not super fleshed out at this point, but our first partner for that one is City of Good. And they're gonna be doing some great programming this first time around, so we're going to
Programming with
what?
With food, City of Good?
Yes. What you said with Putin. And I routine.
No more news for you.
I'm sorry, we're like on the record. I literally didn't hear what you said. Yes, I do believe some of it's gonna be food related, but I don't, like I said, I don't have the details of it right now. They're working on it at this point. So we each one of those series of 3 events is going to be put on with a partner, and so each of those things will look a little bit different, but the whole series is gonna be called.
Is it the plan to do it once a month or?
It's actually not, it's gonna be, if I'm not mistaken, right now, the proposal is to do 3 event series twice a year, so it'll be 6 nights a year.
Okay.
Am I correct on that? Yeah, oh, I got it right.
That's lovely.
Yeah. So, and then we do have some new exhibitions, yeah, and if you haven't yet seen Voices of River Street, please make a point to go to see it before it gets taken down, because it's an extremely special event. And it will go up again sometime in the future, but I don't know when. So, and that closes at the end. Great. Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, just so you know, I actually have to attend a 250 event at the Capitol tonight, so I am gonna have to leave a little bit early. So as I sneak out, I apologize for that.
Was meeting with the church most recently in Paradise by Camp McCall?
Yeah, sorry to repeat that. What'd she say?
I know Megan.
Oh,
She's a good hire.
Yes. We were very impressed, very excited to have her on.
All right, I am here to present some work we've been doing alongside the creative agency, Drake Cooper, over the last several months to better align our vision for everyone, creating a sense of place and belonging through arts, history, and culture with our messaging. So aligning vision with a voice. And I'm so sorry, I'm Jennifer Weibar, Communications Manager for those who don't know me yet. I wanted to give you a quick project background and why this became necessary. Just to see if any of you have a quick way to describe our departments. Raise your hands.
The best.
And
These cross pollinators, that's how I would describe it.
it is no surprise that we've struggled a little bit with how to present our department. We are very unique. We're like none other. We marry arts, history, and culture. If you look around the country, many agencies or commissions responsible for these things are probably separate in how they deal with that work. So again, it is a bit of a challenge, also an opportunity for us to kind of figure that out. We have so much to offer. Just looking at the cultural program guide for the months of April through June, it is bursting with cultural offerings and offerings that are either at no cost or low cost. So almost barrier free for our community to access. However, it is very challenging to communicate the entirety of our offerings in just a few words. We also have the added challenge of communicating that, yes, we are part of the city of Boise. We are a government agency, and yes, our function is essential. Our purpose and our raison d'être is very essential, more now than ever. So we really identified the need for a unified message, and definitely that would roll out into a media strategy. So we secured $30,000 in last fiscal year. We went out, we didn't have to go through an RFQ, request for qualifications or proposals, because the budget is below that threshold. But I did conduct interviews with many of our local creative agencies. It is a lot for us, but it is not a lot to an agency working on this type of work. So we really needed to find an agency that was excited to work with government and at the intersection of arts, history, and culture for this budget. Drake Cooper gave an enthusiastic yes. If you're not familiar with Drake Cooper, they're located right here in downtown Boise, and they work with very large accounts, but they have a vested interest in the success of the city. And so to work with us, and the communities that we serve was of great interest. So we hired them and we worked as a committee. So I did not work alone. I worked with the marketing committee here at the city, including members of our creative services team, and members of our marketing team and members of our digital communication team, as well as our accessibility program manager. So really wanted to do this as a committee, as a collective. I'll zoom into kind of the purpose of their work. Their proposition was to help us kind of engage with Boise arts history. And engaging in those fields makes you more than a spectator, it makes you part of the story. So that was their proposition. And they helped us create audience buckets, essentially, audience segmentation. We identified through our strategic plan that we had 3 different priority audiences, and we gave them names. Starting with community builders, those are Boiseans, families, K-12, newcomers, underserved groups. Moving into the creative catalysts, students possibly aspiring to a career in arts, history, culture, professional artists, creatives seeking growth, and then cultural stewards, 55 plus, lifelong learners, long-term supporters, and possibly donors. So up to this point, our motto, and it still is, we serve everyone. However, when it comes down to communications, it's really difficult to say, I'm going to say this to everyone. And that just doesn't work. Melissa, I'm sure you can identify with that.
We also serve everyone.
Yes. So it's tailoring, developing a message that is tailored to each of these groups. And it's helpful to have them in segments, essentially. We also tried to find keywords that would help us identify the form of engagement. So for community builders, that is oftentimes folks who have first access to our department, our offerings, the city possibly. So the word experience came to mind. Creative catalysts, those are really the professionals who are seeking professional development or growth in their careers. And so the word empower came to mind. And then finally, because we couldn't do it without an alliteration, we went with the bridge, both in its, more metaphorical and also literal sense.
I love it.
Okay. These are just words to help us when we're talking about communication as a public communication. We know that these 3 groups don't engage with us in a linear fashion. It was very important for us to put them in this kind of circular, ongoing engagement experience. So maybe someone at some point in their life engages with us and then falls back, and then because relevancy or relevance is more important to them, they start engaging again. So we know that flow, that engagement varies depending on the season of life and what is going on. And we wanted to be respectful of that. So we want to be able to engage at any point, and certainly try to level that engagement up as if we can. I'll gloss over the next few slides. We basically wanted to describe how these three different community audiences engage with us and identify the channels that they would most likely use to find this information out. So that is that bracket. And please, this will be, this should have been shared with you in advance, or it will be after the meeting. So feel free to go and look at this in depth. I'll just mention that again, that bucket under experience, for example, you'll see exactly who our target audience is. So for every pillar, we find the audience, the priority audience, and how they might engage. We also did that with messaging. And so what is the offer when it comes to arts and history? Some template messaging, and then the reason why that messaging would work. So again, I won't go into detail, but please feel free to read through this. And then we aligned the relevant services that we offer to those audiences. So for example, if you follow the Creative Catalyst row, you'll find that the need is around funding, networking, professional development opportunities, and that the services that are probably most aligned to that group are public art grants and cultural sites, particularly through the residency program. And so our message is with support, we support your creative journey with funding and spaces to showcase your work. So the message would be apply for a grant, apply for a residency, etc. Apply for a cultural. We broke this down even more by target audience. Again, the slide deck is very long, so it would be short. We tried to do this here with the community builders, so Boiseans, families, students, newcomers, underserved groups, how to drive them to attend an event or program, again, demographics, and then where they are digitally and by what means are they trying to reach us. So this is going to inform where we go next with, for example, our social media channels. And just as an example here, you'll notice that 91% of that group, and this is within Boise city limits, should specify, is still on Facebook, for example. We also wanted to understand, demographically where they are and what their motivations or lifestyle were. We learned that this group en masse attended a rodeo. So we're not going to show up at the rodeo, but
Are there anyone?
I know I don't know. I don't think so.
I think we might, I'm just gonna jump in, we might go to a rodeo.
Okay, we might go to a rodeo. But one of the things that we note here is that they do value work beyond income. The best time of their day is family time, and they like to eat with their families 4 times a week. So for us to send a message around 4 or 5 p.m., which is generally when I have time to post on social media, it always gets to the last minute. That message is probably, and it's targeted towards families, it's probably not. So this is helping us reimagine, rethink how we create messaging, whose audience, who we're trying to reach, and what their lifestyle is to better time what we're doing. But it's not working. That's okay. We did all this work, so they are throwing the computer out the window. We still were struggling because, as you can see, this is a lot of data, a lot of great information, but we were still kind of struggling to find a concise and unified way to talk about our department. So we challenged Drake Cooper to come up with, quote, some taglines. They developed 6, But the important thing was that this tagline be quote dandelion proof. If you look at our department's visual identity, it includes a dandelion. The dandelion is a huge design element and part of our brand guidelines. And it has and carries a lot of symbolism for our department and our work, and it has for a decade. So the dandelion proof was really to say, hey, is this tagline really symbolic of our department's work? Like a dandelion, Boise Arts and History are resilient, adaptable, and transformative. The seeds of creativity and stories take root, grow, and spread across generations, ensuring Boise's cultural essence is preserved and celebrated. So we called it the dandelion. So I'm going to go through these 6 taglines. We have actually already polled our staff, polled our friends in community engagement, polled a number of other people, but I wanted to give you a chance to maybe at the end of these 6 taglines, maybe give me a sense of where you are. Our first is past, present possibilities. Points to the mission of honoring Boise's history, celebrating its vibrant present, and empowering creativity to shape a limitless future. Boise Arts and History. Where Boise blooms calls out the unique way Boise can benefit from celebrating history, elevating art, and investing in a growing creative community. Culture, creativity, community outlines the key areas that prosper when we uplift Boise's inspiring past, dynamic present, and promising future. Show, tell, empower builds on the department's, there's an apostrophe there, commitment to make arts and history accessible to everyone while investing in the creative community. And then Forever Boise speaks to the promise of cultivating Boise's enduring legacy, tying together its rich past, vibrant present, and transformative future. So if I understand if no one feels comfortable raising their hand, you can come to me afterwards. And I can go through them. If you do have a favorite, and you feel comfortable sharing.
I know.
Do you like my favorite? Yes.
Okay.
I like this one, and I like the blue. I liked the blue too.
I like the first one and the last one.
I agree with
Oh,
I also like the one with the show.
I like all the ones that talk about the history and the honoring the past and then going into the future, because it's just showing or recognizing where we've been, where we're going. And so I like them all, but I like the ones that are, especially that are showing that historical part of it.
Commissioner Walker, I can agree with you. That was the struggle at first with the department. They lean, and our department has historically leaned very heavy in public art. And so to tilt that and to really honor the marriage between arts and history was really, really important. And so I would like to present to you with our newest tagline.
I like it.
Present possibilities.
I can see the t-shirt that you're gonna make.
So I thank you for the clap of hands. I really appreciate it. If you do have any other thoughts about this or don't feel comfortable with this, please come to me. It's important that our commissioners feel like they want and can this message as much as our team feels like they can as well. Past, present possibilities. So just a quick update on that. We are moving into design work. These are words on a slide. They do need to be designed. So we will have, quote, we have a primary and secondary logo. The only difference is with and without the dandelion seed. We will have a variation of that with past, present possibilities. We will apply it to what is appropriate. It's not gonna be our primary logo, it's not gonna be everywhere, but it will be on a t-shirt. Yes, so that is our first application, followed by some priority materials, including the cultural program guide, a department brochure, which we haven't had for many, many years and absolutely need. We've actually audited all of our materials and are working on developing a marketing collateral work plan, prioritizing the gaps, the needs for updates, and the opportunities for new products. So this is going to be a long road, probably for the next couple of years. But I'm delighted that you, at least what I can tell, feel comfortable with this, and you'll be the first ones to know when we get that tea. Any questions on this?
What's the number of materials that you're auditing?
I audited, I have already conducted the audit. I audited materials over the last 10 years. And mostly print. I've also conducted a digital audit. Actually, that leads me into the website discussion. But I can share the findings. There's a very large spreadsheet and findings. I won't page separate the findings.
That'd be awesome. We're doing the same.
Happy to share that with you.
600.
Yeah, it's, I bet, yeah, it's a lot for us, but I bet I hope how it's.
Yeah, literally anyone can pick to decide to make a new brochure, and
Right.
one department doesn't talk to the other, so that's where you get the list of 600 to begin with.
Yes.
And the retirement process, and you might think about some questions or rules around creating new materials going forward,
Yes,
because
yes.
that's how you get the best response rate.
Would love to discuss that with you, share what we've learned, and then hear about your process.
Okay.
Anyone else, let me know. I'd be happy to
You
share.
guys want to talk about collateral overlay?
I'm gonna quickly segue unless there are any other questions. Dr.
I
Asher?
just want to say thank you.
Yes.
I imagine that was a fair amount of work on your part, and just want to say thank you for all the care and thought and that you put into it.
It's a really smart investment to make too.
Thank you. I also, this has been a long time coming. And so to be able to work on this has been an absolute gift, an absolute privilege. And I am so excited that we can equip our staff, our commissioners, our leadership with a package of materials and a clear and concise way to describe the city's investment in arts, history, and culture. Like, that's the goal. So I'm very happy to be at this point. And I cannot, Jennifer and our community engagement office enough for their support. Just a quick glance at our communication priorities for 2025. Again, we were supposed to meet, I think, on this in February, so my apologies for the delay. But at a glance, it's a little, sorry, that formatted weirdly. Just a high level communication priorities. City flag design contest. Has anyone seen information about that?
I was on there. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner Walker. Really appreciate it. I think we're so we went with we are supporting the Office of Community Engagement and the mayor with community engagement and asking community members to submit their design ideas around a new city flag. The flag is 35 years old and is very plainly not a flag. It is a logo on a blue rectangle. So so we wanted this to be a community process. We are down to, and Commissioner Walker, please feel free to jump in. I think we are close to a number, a set number of designs that will go to public vote, and I believe the public vote starts on Monday. Yes. So, drum roll, get your tablets out and your devices. go vote for your favorite flag, and that flag design will be unveiled, and the artists or the community members who designed the flag will be unveiled at the mayor's State of the City on May 15th.
Do you have the committees? Do you have any like information to send out to people to like get them to notice that they can vote for a flag?
Oh, yes, it's going to be everywhere. I'm happy to follow up with you, send you to links to the webpage. We have a dedicated webpage for this. Got a lot of social plan around it.
Do you have any like flyers for this?
I don't. Yep, it's all digital. Yep. So sorry.
Will the committee be happy with any one of them chosen?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
I was going a little cross-eyed after. But it was cool. It was really cool to see that.
Commissioner Walker, do you remember how many submissions we received?
I think we received over 100 and something. It was a lot.
Wow.
And then did you ask people to refine their ideas, or will the chosen person then do a final product?
You know, I think that they have, we narrowed it down to a few that we were saying, if they did this edit or that edit, but we were working with, and I can't remember her name.
Layla,
Yes,
yes.
to say yes, if there needs to be edits and things like that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And Layla Ramela Rader is the creative services senior manager. So she's basically the city's creative design manager. So she knows the city's brand guidelines. She knows the city's visual identities like none other. And so she's been instrumental, possibly just slightly refining certain things that the community submitted so that they're flag ready.
Is it the honor system on how many times people can vote?
I think you can only vote once.
Yes.
Like the system is set up that it
Yes.
can read
Yes, I'm pretty
the
sure.
5.
I will make sure that that's correct.
Thank you.
The Depot Centennial, Director Stevens went into length around that, but we have a lot going on in April, but interest and media inquiries around the depot ramped up very seriously in March. And so we developed a press kit, and Jennifer's actually participated in a number of interviews so far and continues to do so all the way through April 13th and probably during, alongside Doug Holloway, Director of Rec, Mayor McLean, of course, and possibly other stakeholders. Actually, today, Jennifer was in conversation with Elaine Klug, who's the Executive Director of our Regional Translate, also on the Board of Directors of Amtrak. So a lot of attention around the Boise Centennial.
I was also on the panel for the Boise Centennial for the. That was cool, really cool.
Thank you for your
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. That's really exciting. Cultural and creative industries. Oh, sorry, that should be listening sessions. My bad, it's not focus groups. This is a continuation from the community survey we developed and put out this fall. We received over 1,000 submissions from individuals and artists, and over 127 cultural orgs participated as well. We are going into listening sessions with artists, members, and cultural groups, both small and large. Actually, Tilly's right here. Please
I'll be
feel
presenting on
free.
that after me.
Perfect. So I won't go into more length, but that timeline just shows you those listening sessions, followed by public presentations in June, July, on sharing preliminary results from the listening sessions and the community survey. And then we're working towards publication at the end of the fiscal year. That probably may slide a little bit. Let's see. I mentioned the website. Did I mention the website? Okay, I'll get to that, but we're okay. Launching in July. I will come back to that. Jennifer mentioned the Kaishu Corner, 521 West Grove Street. That is being dedicated on July 28th. we finally have a date for that, and that is actually just before High LD. I think there was just the work has to be installed before the 25th, but High LD actually starts on the 20th. So 28th is an important date. If anyone would like that on their calendars, let me know. And then we mentioned the Mayor's Awards. Applications nominations are open now, and then obviously we'll be ramping up communications around September. And then Jennifer mentioned America 250. It's dotted right now, but as she mentioned, we have certain things that we already know will be part of the celebration, including the Boise Visual Chronicle, call for art. I was going to mention something. Oh yes, we are creating a visual identity around a little mark for the city, so expect to see that pretty soon. And then that planning process goes all the way through the end of the year, launching with community programs in January. Any questions on these communication priorities? That's a lot of work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, sorry, this should have been before. This is very quick. We have the honor of having the oldest website in the city's website. So we're gonna remove quote the technological debt that we have on the website. We have to upgrade our content management system to a current version. We have to remediate accessibility issues we have with the site and be compliant. We will be compliant before then, but we have to be federally compliant by April 2026. And we are hoping to enhance website user experience while honoring arts and history's unique brand identity. We have been working hard on this project alongside our Office of Community Engagement and the Office of Information Technology. We kicked off this project internally in October. We are working with an outside vendor on design. That design is being refined as we speak. We started working on content review, content prioritization in March, April, and content build. We will be doing more design work in May, June, populating that content, and then testing and launching a new and upgraded website in July.
Will we have access to help test it?
Absolutely. Yes, please. Thank you for mentioning that, Commissioner President. We would love nothing more. I think that's it. Oh my God. Okay. Last. Jennifer mentioned that Christina Wilkins is joining us as our new Education and Public Programs Manager starting next week, April 8th. So excited. But I would be remiss, and I think she did have a chance to do this. I hope so. Mackenzie Dunstan, a very young Mackenzie Dunstan, who in her former role was responsible for outreach and education, has been promoted to the role of grants and outreach program manager. We're elated. She's the right person for the job. And she has been working hard both on managing and facilitating the annual grant program, in addition to other publicly funded opportunities like the Cultural Ambassador Program and the Writing Residence Program. But she's also responsible for outreach. So we are working hard to get out into the community. This is an initial list of outreach events that we'll be at. This is February through May. I won't read through them all, but if you see one that you want to discuss, please let me know. Continued June through October. Okay, there's a lot. Some have dates, others don't. But let me know if you have any interest in outreach, or if you have an event where you feel like our presence and participation would be mutually beneficial.
And I'm actually working with Boise Comic Arts Festival already. We just had our first meeting.
Awesome.
So HP will be helping. We help with their intern program. So they match a student artist.
Oh, yes.
With
yes.
somebody that's already published.
So I've done that the last week.
It's super cool.
It's really,
It's yeah.
show them what they can do and help them with certain groups.
Hey, Jennifer. So great to have such a great communications team. That's
Thank you.
Okay, so Jennifer mentioned our cultural and creative industries survey. This was modeled after a survey that Dr. Ashley and Dr. Leslie Durham did in 2014. That was a part of our cultural plan in 2017. We built on the questions that were asked in that plan. This plan, we asked questions of individual artists, as well as a section that's the general public and artists could respond to, and then organizational representatives could respond. So I have 53 slides to fly through. We'll make this available so that you can take a look at it. This is just initial findings, just to give you a sense of what's in it. I'm also doing, God help me, qualitative analysis of the comments that we received. And then we'll be doing these listening sessions. So the survey was open the 4th to the 25th. We had 614 artists respond, 470 from the public, and then 127 organizational representatives. And the org representatives were both nonprofits as well as for-profit creative industries like architecture, design, and that sort of thing. So I want to state that this is a non-scientific survey, which means that the respondents were not random. The participants were self-selected to participate. We didn't have control variables that controlled for age or geography. It was distributed online through our, we had a news release, newsletter, web elements, social media. We did direct email to arts organizations, nonprofits, and other community partners. We put flyers, physical media. We run the radio, in the news. So we had a really wide distribution, and that is how people heard about it and responded to the survey. A big picture of the demographics in terms of age. This graphic that you're looking at, the green is all respondents, the blue are artists, and then the purple is the public. The artists tend to be on the younger side, while general members of the public skewed older. But we have a pretty good distribution of age. 83.5% were white, which is pretty in line with our demographics in Boise. 72.5% were female, which is higher than average. We're pretty much 50-50 female to male, so but that's pretty standard for survey respondents. Almost 70% were homeowners. Almost 63% lived in a household of 2. So we did not have a lot of family people respond. There were a lot of individual artists or households of 2. 78% had no children. 73.1% had incomes between 30 and 150,000, and then 15.6% identified having a disability. And then I have the information on the whole scope of these. I just tried to boil this down from 93 slides to 53. So I tried to make it a little bit more concise. In terms of our artists, the majority of the artists that replied were visual artists, and then writers and theater artists were next in terms of numbers, and then musicians. And then the remainder of our artists were in multiple disciplines like film, design, dance, gaming, architecture, culinary arts, and storytelling. Mid-career were the predominant respondents, 42%. 29% were identified as emerging, and 29% identified as established. When we look at artists and numbers and money, over 60% of the artists make less than 20% of their income from their art practices. The average income was $29,840, and their median income was $20. So the people who do make their living primarily from their work is low in terms of the numbers. To finance their creative practices, 53% get revenue from their practice that goes back into their practice. After that, we had close to 40% that have an occupation that is not related to their practice or a creative field that helps to fund their practice. Then we had people who are employed in creative occupations that not necessarily their practice, but their creative occupation that funds their work. Family support is about 20%, grants, about 20%. Savings 17%, retirement, which I think is reflective of the age of some of the artists, almost 17%. Credit card debt comes in at 15%, and then other sources. In terms of employment, 40% identified as self-employed, which I think is pretty in line with the 2014 survey. 21% said they did not have an arts-related creative job. 10% identified that they're employed by creative organizations. 7% are employed by creative organizations, but they have additional creative work. And then 5% identified several part-time jobs. In terms of place, the majority of the artists, again, the majority of the artists were represented as visual artists, have home studios or some kind of space that they work out of their home. 24% are working out of a space that's managed by an organization. And that's important for us to note to understand the importance of those organizations in the ecosystem of our city, like the Commonwealth or Searles Place or the James Castle House. 23% are in public spaces, so that might be performers who are performing in public spaces. Close to 19% are in a performance venue, so that could be bars or the Morrison Center. 15% are in universities or colleges. So student representatives. A lot of us heard all this before. And then I'm not gonna go into the ones that were listed under 10%. But I think what's important to draw from this is that artists are working in a variety of spaces, but particularly in this time where space is not very affordable, a lot of people are out of their homes. In terms of how they share art, I think this is also really interesting that the number one place they share work is online. So almost 60% of their artists said that they're sharing their work online. Gallery is next, and then performance venue. So this is again pretty much in line with who responded to the survey. Festivals and markets, homes or private houses, universities and colleges. So it's important for us to think about how do each of these contribute to this larger ecosystem and how do we keep those alive as part of our places for artists to share their work. From an entrepreneurship perspective, 40% of the artists identified that they had helped start an arts organization, creative industry business. And 87% of these were operating in Boise and the surrounding areas. So we see the importance of entrepreneurship in the artists community. The challenges that they face are financial barriers, social perceptions that art isn't a real job, lack of business training, the need of mentors, workspace, and resources, limited time for the multiple roles that they have, and then the high competition that they face locally or nationally. So this is again a place for us to look, how could we help with resources in terms of the challenges that they're facing. In terms of where artists get career support, 53% are getting career support from nonprofits or for-profit organizations. 38% identified universities in the educational sector as places they get support. 28% from the public sector, like governments. 26% from community, which might be GoFundMe accounts or other community support. And then 26% from for-profit businesses, which could be sponsorships or being hired. Only 25% of the artists said that they have all the training that they need in Boise. So there's a gap in terms of what training they need. And only 22% identify that they can actually make a living from their creative enterprise. In terms of staying in Boise, even with the challenges that they face, 76% said that they plan on staying in Boise. 18% were unsure and 5% are out of here. The reasons that those said that they're not going to stay in Boise are there are better economic opportunities elsewhere, there's better education or training elsewhere, there's more art-friendly culture elsewhere, and then Idaho's unfriendly political climate towards LGBTQIA, women, Indigenous, and non-white people were reasons that were given.
Would this, you feel generally that these responses make it sound like Boise's a hospitable place for artists? If 76% want to stay?
I think there's a deeper questions to get into here. why they're staying may not necessarily be because of their art practice.
Okay.
It may be because of other reasons, maybe family or
There's stuff.
or they're stuck, or other reasons. So I don't think we can draw the conclusion that it's because of their art practice.
Tilly, did you ask if, even if they plan to stay here, whether they would stay doing their arts and creative practice?
I did not ask that question. So at this point, we moved into, so what we've seen so far were just artists responding. Now we move into the section where artists and the general public are responding. So you're going to see the green is all respondents, the blue are artists, and then the purple is the general public. What was interesting from this is to be able to see how the public responded differently than the artists. So this question, so the first one is I attend local performing arts events and as an attendee. So we see there's high attendance among both artists and general public. The second is I'm engaged as a practitioner in a practice as a hobby. So the artists replied here as well, but the public actually had a 53.4% response that they employed. So that tells me too that the audience members are taking classes at Fort Boise. So they may not identify necessarily as an artist, but they're still practicing creative activities. I'm gonna reference the all respondents generally, where I've identified the percentages. They're donating 45% are donating money to creative communities. 41% are attending classes or lessons to learn a skill. 41% are subscribers to local arts organizations, and that's actually higher in the public group. We see the artists identifying as a professional artist, but there are a small number of the public that also did identify it, although they didn't answer the questions on the other survey. There is a 25.7% volunteer rate, and those numbers are higher in the general public, and 19% participated in virtual programming and events, and that's higher in the public responses. 14% is employed in the local arts environment, and that's actually higher in the public response.
Can I get something on one thing you just said there?
Yeah, please.
I'm reading that as like I volunteer with a local arts organization or business. It's much higher with the public than with the artists.
Yes.
So why do you think that shocks me a little bit?
I think that's kind of like how I don't do marketing on the side anymore, because I'm just tired. Like I want to go home and do something else. But if I'm not getting my creative bucket filled in my day job, I will volunteer for something like that. Does that make sense?
I think it's also that people who want to support the arts, like I think about the Cyril's Place board, it's probably about half and half artists and non-artists who are on that board because it's something that they can do to contribute to something they want to support.
I think there's just so many artists that volunteer for their friends' organizations.
Mm.
And
Oh, I like
they
that.
don't collaborators. That's what I'm wondering if that seems
Seems a
a little
little,
surprising to me, yeah.
yeah, it's we're about to do these listening sessions and anything that you see that you want us to dive into more, we can also ask some more questions about these types of things in those sessions.
One thing I'd recommend on the 76% want to stay here, the next question could be, would you recommend Boise to somebody looking for a new place to be an artist? We do that Idaho Power as like, do you want to say Idaho Power? Would you recommend Idaho Power as a good place to work? And that's kind of our big question about how people are feeling about the company, right? Because if you might be stuck working there, but would you recommend it to a friend? And if your answer is no, then that's kind of like, oh, what's going on there? But if your answer is yes, they might be able to tell you.
It's also because the housing costs are rising everywhere. And you have so many people that actually own their homes. To be able to think about moving to other places may not be possible at this time. Right, and I think the one thing I want to come back to is like, and maybe doing in your listening sessions is that 70% that they want to stay here is a good number. Question, sorry, this is sorry, I don't mean to jump into economic development land, is how many of them will actually stay working with their creative energy? Because then you have the linkage, if they can't stay and use the economic impact of like all that they bring to bear, like in their in our economy. And yeah, in different kinds of ways, and that's the most tangible economic development. Economic development laws would be able to tie into that a little bit more. I'd be curious about that too, in addition to what that looks like for the occupational side.
Yeah, thank you, that's helpful. In terms of why artists or who artists attend events with, the majority of them attend with friends, 73%, with a partner or a spouse, 61%. Attending alone was interesting that artists are much more likely to attend events alone than the general public. With family, including children, was pretty even, and then with family, adults only, and then with coworkers. So that is something I think we're going to be sharing this information out, as Jennifer noted, with arts organizations and the general public, so that they can build on this kind of information. So we wanted to ask questions that were not just important for us, but were also important for arts organizations. So the type of things that they're attending, visual arts was the highest ranked at 88%. So that could be in galleries, museums, or art fairs. Cultural heritage or educational events was next. The general respondents were more likely to attend cultural heritage as well as performing arts events than artists. Performing arts was next at 70%. So performing arts, we split those out into theater, dance, and music, which ranked higher than more contemporary pop country music events. And then film was 63%. And then performing arts, more on the classical side, was at 62%, with a higher public response than artists. Literary artists came in at 53%, and then youth programming was the lowest. And I think that's also representative of who our respondents were.
They're all pretty even though, which is surprising.
Yeah, that's true. In terms of frequency of attendance, most of our attendants, 33.7%, attend a few times a month. After that, several times a year, and the general public was actually higher than artists. Several times a week. Actually, in that category, artists were higher. So we see that there's actually a very regular cadence of attendance, which is great. I think that's really good news for us. In terms of spaces where they engage with arts and culture, this was sort of surprising. The number one was parks, libraries, community centers, and other public spaces.
That goes to our point about affordability and
Definitely,
accessibility.
definitely. And family friendly, I think too, even though there weren't a lot of family people. So second were museums and cultural centers. Third were more formal music, film, performance venues, and the public were a little bit higher to attend at those. Schools and colleges were next at 65%. So I think that speaks to relationship with schools and universities. Coffee shops and restaurants, so more informal, was at 61%. And then commercial spaces, bars and religious spaces. So these more commercial or religious were the lowest. In terms of locations where they engaged, downtown Boise was definitely the high at close to 93%, and that was pretty even in terms of attendance. Next is actually Garden City, which I think we're aware that there's a lot that are locating in Garden City, and that was higher among artists. Then venues in Boise and other neighborhoods that are outside of downtown were next. And then we also put in there other regions, and we found that artists had a greater likelihood of attending events while they were traveling or attending in regional or national or international locations.
So just to clarify, engaging is equal to participating?
Yeah, going to an event, attending an event. The question was framed about attending arts events. The way that they're hearing about events, the primary method that they're hearing is local arts organizations' own newsletters and websites. Word of mouth was number 2, and that's higher among artists. So that's interesting to us. There's a lot of fracturing. What we found in the qualitative responses as well is that it's hard to hear about events. The marketing is really difficult these days because it's not in the newspapers. So local events showed up third. You can see that the general public is depending on those more traditional methods, like the local newspapers, rather than the artists who are going directly to the organizations or people that they know. City of Boise website was fourth, and that's for us, it was interesting to see it was very low among the artists, but higher among the general public. So it speaks to who's maybe paying attention to art.
Contrary. Artists, did you say artists? Anyone?
No, I'm sorry. Right, artists were lower and general public was higher.
On our website?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at
Yeah.
City of Boise.
Yeah, contrary.
I was looking at City
Oh.
of Boise and then Arts and History.
okay.
So City of Boise, that's true. Arts and History, more artists, less public.
Mhm.
So this is important for us to think about how we're communicating with people. In terms of their future engagement, most people said that they're planning on engaging about the same rate that they're currently engaging. And at 60%, 27.3% said that they plan on participating more. In terms of barriers to engaging, the number one is I don't know what's happening, when and where. The second is the expense of offerings. The third is scheduling. The fourth is lack of parking, and the fifth is lack of transportation. We note that those 5 barriers are things that could be potentially addressed programmatically or infrastructurally. The next one was interesting. I don't feel a sense of belonging, and that was overwhelmingly artists. They were more than twice as likely to identify that they had cultural or personal barriers to participating. The next were lack of representation of my culture, lack of childcare. So these are things for us to think about in terms of why people may or may not be participating. In terms of how they're engaging with arts and history, the number one was public art. So 79% engaged with our public art collection. That was pretty even. Community events like First Thursday. So this is helping us to gauge like what's valuable for us to continue doing. Third was the tours. People really like the tours. Close to 29% were cultural sites, so the James Castle House or Irma Haven House. So that also tells us that we need to reach a larger audience with our cultural sites program, that it doesn't have the brand awareness that our public art program has, for instance. Our grant program was definitely more used by artists than by the general public. So that speaks, I think, to the audience. And then also, that was also true in workshops and people who are being commissioned for work by the agency or were hired or contracted in some capacity. And then professional development opportunities. So this is where we really see that we are in our public facing programs, we're serving the general public and the artists the same, and then in ways that we're serving artists more specifically. These were words that people use to define Boise's arts and culture scene currently. So it's a real mix of positive and negative terms.
Did you make the upper case limited? Just out of curiosity. Or that there?
It was based on a number, so the size of the words are based on the number of respondents that said those.
But it's the uppercase limited is what I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it was the program made, so I didn't make that. And then this is the future of what people hope that our arts culture scene will be in the future. Okay, so some challenges facing arts and culture. So there were 490 qualitative responses to this question. So I've done an analysis of this and I'm creating reports that will reflect this in more depth. But the number one is really finances and the increase of cost of living overall. The affordable venues was another really big one. Affordable space in general for studios, for rehearsal, but also in attending. That was a big one. Our unfriendly political cultural climate was up there, education and funding cuts that people are experiencing. Transportation really showed up a lot, and that was particularly among the older audience. Transportation options and then parking options were really critical. Expenses again, marketing was mentioned frequently. The concentration of events in downtown, which make it difficult for people to get to. And then our isolated geography, there were some comments that really reflected about because we're so limited, that there's not a lot of the quality level isn't as high, or we don't get as many acts through, or high level performing arts experiences.
There's a comment. I think you're
jumping
over
Okay. Opportunities to improve our scene, boosting our financial support through our grant program, looking at affordable housing, wage increases, increasing access to venues, or making spaces, expanding geographic reach beyond downtown to other new venues, increasing affordability of workshops, providing more, serving more demographics like our youth and seniors or new Americans, participating more with Boise State or other public or private institutions, and then tiered ticketing to encourage broader audiences or expanding diversity and inclusivity brings.
So what will you be providing suggestions like that to arts organizations?
I can't answer that yet. Okay. I'll let you know. I'm doing an analysis of it right now, and part of that is kind of recommendations that come out of that. But I need to figure out how we want to couch that.
Yeah, because it'd be great to get, well, maybe somebody already does, but the tiered ticket pricing, other than just students or the elderly, that you could pick your level.
We're going over that. I have another section that's about the organization. Should we bump that to the next one?
If that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the next section.
wow.
So it's another 25 slides. So we should pause. Okay.
You're willing to share this?
Hmm?
You're willing to share the deck or?
Oh, sure. We can share the slide deck, but I can present on the second half of my presentation, the next one, so that I don't take your time to.
And yeah, I would like to go through.
And we'll be
Read it.
at the other end of the listening sessions, so we might have.
We can do a follow-up on what we hear from this as well. Yeah, thank you for your attention. It's a lot of material.
You know, another thing you might consider, and I know we're going over time, but I had a fascinating conversation with a couple that came here just for tree board from Kansas City. And she's like, I'm a metalsmith, I have my own gallery in Kansas City, and he's in construction, and she's like, we really think we want to move here. And she's like, you know, what's the art scene like? And I was like, well, person to talk to you about it. But
So did you recommend it?
absolutely, okay, good. And I gave her some places to check out while they were here, but what's the word I'm looking for? Reaching out to other artists, like Boise is a welcoming city, like
Successful.
you know, successful, kind of an outreach to that, seeing what our city provides and taking care of the artists that are here now, but also realizing there are a lot of people. There were so many people that came in from out of town for that, that might be a great way to recruit to Boise, you know, during big events like that.
Thank you. This is an incredibly rich source of information. It's very overwhelming trying to figure out how to really dive through it, and then how to present the findings for it. So we're working on that. And then we're using this information to shape the questions that we're asking for these listening sessions and go into another deeper level. There were respondents who identified that they wanted to be participate in those, and so that's who we're contacting initially. If we have enough from those respondents, that's who will participate in the listening sessions. If we don't, then we'll drop in the reach. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? All right, if there's no other business, I entertain a motion to adjourn. I move. Commissioner Ashley, yes, seconded by Commissioner Tom. You're done.